Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome into the channel. I'm, of course, your host, Droodles, Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be playing in the Chatillon 25-ton. This is a Tier 10 French autoloading light tank, a vehicle that is incredibly strong in certain aspects, but pretty poor in others. And because of that, this vehicle has definitely fallen behind when you compare it to other vehicles comparable in the meta. In today's video, I'm going to be suggesting my personal idea of what should be done with this vehicle, and why I really don't think that the way this tank plays fits into the battlefield of World of Tanks Blitz and the ever so changing meta and vehicles coming into the game. Now, of course, when the Batchat first came out, it was the only Tier 10 light, and that was great because after the first patch, this vehicle was the only vehicle to have the same camouflage while moving and sitting still. That is incredibly strong when you think about it. Imagine being the only tank 5 years ago that could spot heavy tanks and medium tanks without really having to worry about being spotted yourself unless you were in spotting distance. That is incredibly powerful. But nowadays, since vehicles like the Vickers Light exist and the Sheridan exist, well, there's other tanks that carry those attributes. And not only that, but we've got so many more mediums that have gotten so much stronger over the years. More DPM, more engine power. Vehicles like the E50M, which used to not be incredibly strong in Tier 10, are now so powerful that even a vehicle like the Batchat has trouble outrunning it, and this is literally the fastest light tank. So vehicles like the Sheridan, well, this tank has alpha to adapt against mediums, and the Vickers Light, well, it's really a medium tank just in a light tank shell. It's got medium tank armor, and it's got a fantastic gun. But the Batchat, it's kind of weird because it's got a great gun. I mean, for a clipper, it's got 2,900 damage per minute, which is rare. Vehicles like the TVP 5051 are sitting at around like 2,600 DPM, so this tank is definitely strong in that aspect. It's got a decent interclip at 2.8 seconds, which means in around 5.6 seconds, it's able to dump out 930 damage. The issues arrive. First of all, its penetration is very piss poor. Its standard is 252, which is not great, judging that it is APCR. Any tank that's more than 200 meters away, especially heavies, you're really going to struggle to penetrate. And even your heat shells, well, that's with calibrated. 325 is really bad. You're going to struggle to cut through turrets of E100s and mantlets of Jagdpanzers. It's not the easiest vehicle to use. So that's its first big issue, is it's a light tank, so it doesn't have the most penetration. And the other big issue is the fact that its dispersion isn't amazing. Now, I'm currently running, actually, a refined gun on the vehicle because it's got good aiming time, but it's nothing amazing. The dispersion, though, is really bad. I mean, for being a light tank, which is supposed to have a very, should I say, nasty clip that always snaps people, it really doesn't. For anybody that's used it, the gun misses quite a few shots that you really wouldn't want missing for a vehicle that hemorrhages its DPM when you miss one or two shells in that clip. Thankfully, it's only got around a 14-second clip reload, which is actually faster than an E100's entire reload. So what is the issue with the Batchat? I mean, it's incredibly fast. It goes 65 kilometers per hour forward, 23 in reversed, with a power-to-weight ratio of 32.4. I mean, compare that to a Vickers Light, and this thing is light years ahead because the Vickers Light is 27.6. Well, I can personally tell you the biggest issue with the Batchat is the fact that the armor profile is based off of a medium tank. In World of Tanks PC, the Batchat is a medium. This tank is big. I mean, if you compare this to a Sheridan or you compare it to a Vickers Light, I mean, you can see that the Batchat is not a small profile. And unlike the Sheridan, which actually has spaced armor all over it, and the Vickers Light, which can actually bounce shells, the Batchat is A, very prone to getting penetrated by high explosive shells, and B, it's just a large tank. It's very easy to shoot. So I came up with an idea, and I've very strongly abound by this idea. I've had this idea for a year and a half now, and I still think this is what wargaming should do. Now, for any of you that pay attention to World of Tanks PC, a vehicle like the WZ-113 and FE-25B, which are tech tree vehicles in Blitz, aren't actually available on the tech tree anymore on PC. They replaced them with vehicles like the WZ-111-5A, which was the 113's replacement, and the FE-25B was replaced by the Super Conqueror. Now, personally, I believe that what wargaming should do is make the Chatillon 25-ton either a medium tank with one extra shell comparable to the TVP, or just kick it off of the tech tree, make it a collector, leave it the way it is, and then bring in the AMX-13-105. Now, if you're wondering what the AMX-13-105 is, this here is what it looks like. It literally looks like an AMX-1390 just at tier 10, and that's literally all it is. The AMX-13 13 is just the specification of the hull. So imagine a vehicle the size of an AMX 1390, this size right here, just with a Batchat gun. But not only a Batchat gun, but this gun does standard B levels of damage. It doesn't carry a 100mm like the Batchat, it carries a 105mm armament, which means, well actually this does carry 105, but normally 105s are supposed to deal 350 damage in Blitz, and that's exactly what I would want it to do in Blitz, is I'd want this really quick clipper, 2.5 second interclip, just like the AMX 1390, with a 350 alpha gun. And that's it. It's mobile. It's not as mobile as the Batchat. It's like an AMX 1390. Literally just imagine an AMX like any of the lower tiered ones, just at tier 10. That is what I personally believe. I think it would make a much smaller profile. I mean, as I showed you, if you compare the size of a 1390 to a Batchat, I mean, it's massively different. It makes them look two different metrics. And because of that, just imagine this tank with a tier 10 gun mounted on it, and better camouflage, and maybe better mobility. I mean, you can imagine how that would be super duper strong. I'd love to play a tank like that. You never know. I'd just like to see Wargaming test that. But let's play the Batchat. Let's see what makes it strong. Let's see what some of the issues are. Personally, I still believe that the Batchat is a very capable tank. It's just, you can't really do anything in it when bad things come. I mean, let's put in an example here. The 62A, the E50, and the Vickers CR. Those are all very strong vehicles. Sure, the E50 doesn't have much premium penetration, but doesn't really matter when you're shooting at a light tank, especially this one that has very little armor to begin with. So, when you think about it, I can't brawl with mediums. This tank, for anybody that's ever used it or come up against it, everybody can clearly know it has no armor. It has no turret armor, it has no hull armor, so that's one big issue. And because it has a clip, it's not like it has DPM to make up for that. You're using a clip, and once you clip somebody, if you don't pen all of your shells, a medium's just going to push on you. So that's the first biggest issue, is you can't brawl with mediums, right? If you're fighting a hull down 62A, you're going to lose every time. It really just doesn't win battles against medium tanks. And sure, the heavies are where this tank is very strong. If you're able to get in a circumstance where you have the side of, let's say, an AMX M4 or a 183, an E100, that is where this tank can feel very, very powerful. I mean, I actually think the Batchat is very powerful in certain scenarios, don't get me wrong. We got the 62A over here, there's one shell into his tank, there's two, and there is 3 shells into his vehicle, but I just want to put into a comparison there that he just fired an HE shell into my side and a normal shell. And with those 2 shells combined, that guy took off around 700 hit points for the 900 I dumped into his vehicle. That's not much of an advantage, is it? No, it really isn't. And there's an E50 spotted as well. I mean, already in this scenario, I have lost an entire flank of this battlefield. I really can't fight vehicles like the enemy E50, like the 62A. Really, any of those tanks I can't fight. You just really can't do it in a Batchat. So that's the big issue I have with this vehicle, is why would you want to play a vehicle that can't fight other tier 10 mediums? So let's see if we can get some shells into this 62A. There's 1 shot, there's 2 shots, that guy's taken out, but at the same time, we have gotten ourselves stuck into a very, very tricky situation. I'm going to do the smart thing, which is called drive away as quickly as possible. There's actually a really, really lucky bounce myself, but yeah, we are not in the easiest of scenarios right now. Let's see if we can get some shells out into this Vickers, which, well, let's see, come on, and there's 1 shell out. Let's see if we can get 1 more out, and fire. There you go. There's another shell out into the Vickers, and with that, I am driving away. That E50 is not a nice vehicle, and that AMX M4, well, I'm hoping he doesn't see me. We're just going to drive, and we're going to continue driving. And, yes, let's just get the heck out of here, right? I don't want to play with those vehicles. So let's go in over here, get in the cover, and sweet, we actually managed to get out of what would have been an extremely deadly situation. So let's see if we can maybe get some shells into vehicles like this AMX M454. He's not looking at me, so there's 1 shell into his rear. Here comes shell number 2, and let's get 1 more out. Now, this is where the Batchat's fine. I mean, as I said, dealing with heavies feels great. But it's just dealing with every other class. You feel so useless. I mean, you watched me just die, basically, to those mediums. And I'm still basically ruined from fighting those mediums. It is... Oh, God, that was a really, really sad shot there. But thankfully, since we are a clipper, we got 2 more shells, and the Object 260 was able to help us out. But I mean, there you go. We got that enemy E50 still aiming at my vehicle. We got the FE2 and 5B183 over here. And you bet that he's probably aiming at my vehicle. Yep. Yes, he is. Thank you very much, good sir. Man, See, that's it. The bat chat, it just struggles. That's the only thing about the tank. It really struggles. And sure, this game, I did fine. I did over 3,000 damage this battle, which is definitely enough to make me happy. It's just, you can imagine in a battle where the enemy Vickers CR and the E50 were replaced by players that knew what they were doing to fight me, it wouldn't have gone well. It would have gone terrible. And I love the bat chat. I hate to say it, but it's definitely fallen behind. It needs help. That is the biggest issue with the vehicle. So if Wargaming doesn't want to put a vehicle like the AMX 13105 into the game, personally, I believe that what Wargaming should do is make the bat chat's interclip a 2.5 second reload and give it a much more accurate gun. Make it .308 base dispersion, or make it better than that. The bat chat should not be a vehicle that I have to run refined gun on to make more accurate, and what that's doing is it's taking away from my on-movement dispersion. So, yeah, problems occur with the vehicle. I like it, but it definitely needs some love. Let me know what you guys think about the bat chat in the comments down below. It's one of those tanks that when it first came into the game used to be one of the strongest vehicles ever, but it's just lost so much of that oomph because other vehicles have taken over the role of the bat chat. Why should I run a bat chat when I can pull out a vehicle like the TVP 5051 that has a bigger clip? And sure, its DPM is a little bit worse, but its armor is 100% better. I mean, sure, the TVP's armor is nothing to boast about. It's not going to bounce shells frontally unless you're using its full gun depression. But the bat chat doesn't have gun depression. It has 6 degrees. The TVP, well, it's sitting at 8 degrees of gun depression. It's got more penetration on the standard. Actually, it might even be the same. The premium pen and standard on this tank is also really bad, but that intra clip is 2 seconds, and this vehicle carries a larger clip, able to dump out 1,240 damage instead of 930. So this vehicle can get out the same 930 that the bat chat does in a matter of 4 seconds instead of 6, which it takes the bat chat normally. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue there as well. The dispersion on this tank, the dispersion is much better because it's sitting at .308, which, as I said, I wish the bat chat had. But unfortunately, the bat chat doesn't sit at .308. In fact, it's way, way worse if I'm not mistaken. It's like .33 or something. It is .326. Like, why does a tier 10 light tank have the same dispersion as, don't get me wrong here, a T95E6? Yes, this heavy here has the same dispersion as a light tank. There you go, .326. I mean, this T110E5 has better dispersion at .321. And that's with me running the wrong provisions. An M6 Yo, if you're running the triple shotgun, is having even better dispersion in the bat chat at .317. It is just impressive to me why a vehicle like the bat chat has worse accuracy than your average 400 alpha heavy. I will never understand that, and because of that, the bat chat will pale in comparison to the other lights. It has every disadvantage to a Sheridan and a Vickers light. It can't outspot them because it has the same camo values. It can't outrun them because it has very similar mobility. I mean, the Sheridan's actual power to weight is 31.3, and as we went over, the bat chat's is 32.4. Not very different, which means that a Sheridan can chase down a bat chat. And sure, the Sheridan gets killed by a bat chat because the Sheridan doesn't have as much DPM. But, I mean, you watched that 62A take off literally half of my health in a matter of 2 shots. And that guy could have easily rushed me and killed me. So, yeah. Bat chat, I love it, but I hate it. It's, well, yes, but actually no. It definitely needs a rebalance in this game. Whether Wargaming wants to buff the vehicle, increasing its alpha to 350, or, as I personally believe, just getting rid of the tank, make it a collector that anybody owns can get, make it like the 113, where if you research the AMX 13105 that they would replace it with, you also can get the bat chat for another 6 million credits. That's what I personally believe. But let me know what you guys think about this vehicle in the comments down below. Wargaming does this thing, which I don't understand why, is they really suck at balancing vehicles that need love. Vehicles like the WZ-111-5A, vehicles like the Bat Chat. I mean, you can look at any tier 10 line. The Foch definitely needs to be reworked. You can look at literally any line and see vehicles that really struggle. The 215B, after Wargaming nerfed, is literally a pile of trash. The grill, I mean, it's got some weird balances. The Object 140 definitely needs some changing done to it. I like the 140. but it's definitely worse than the 62A. The T95E6 is definitely needing a rework. The E5 after the nerfed, the T110E4. I just don't understand why Wargaming is so bad at balancing certain vehicles, and the vehicles that don't really need balancing, like the E50M or the Object 260, which were already pretty good in their current states, got balanced. I don't understand that, but let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye!